Hey Jackie, so what are we discussing today?
Hey, Nikkei. Good morning. Today we'll be learning about agents. A lot of people, they have been reaching out and they've been asking like, what's the difference between LLM and agents? And this video will be immensely helpful for the upcoming designer transitioning the design engineer world. If they understand this concept so well, they can really upskill and increase the productivity of the work. So let's go and dive more deeper.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's the most trending topic of the year, and everyone's dabbling into agents. So I think it's very essential for us to clear this topic for UX designers, such that it is helpful for them in their journey. So talking about agents are basically an extension of LLMs, and it does is if you give or maybe add certain tools, memories, skills to it, it will actually reason on behalf of you and it will act accordingly. So let's say in India, what happens is we go to a ticket booking agent. We tell them that we have to go from place A to B. So let's say if we are going from Bombay to Delhi, so we will give our preferences like you want to travel by business class. And
I used to go to a flight agent before, I used to always say that, hey, always book my seats in the front or in the back. So that could be something also a preference of mine to a faster onboard and deboard. So that's one of the reason I do, and I always tell that to the travel agent.
Yeah, so it could be around certain preferences like seat preferences, or maybe it would be around some economy class or business class. So certain preferences will give to the agent, and then accordingly it will go to famous ticketing websites like Make My Trip, Google Flights, and then eventually it will try to book. So similarly, what happens with an agent, you give your preferences like these, it will reason on behalf of you, and then based on that it will actually go to websites like these through an API, and it will book as per your instructions.
100% right. So Nikki, what I'm thinking here is that let us help viewers understand how agent works, how they execute a task.
Yeah, I think that'll be really cool. Typical workflow of an agent, how it goes around is they observe first, they analyze what the situation is, what are the constraints. Let's say we go to an agent for a travel, the example that we took. So he will actually analyze what is the situation, what are the constraints, then it will plan. It will essentially break into different steps. In the first step, the user gives a lot of big prompt to the agent. In the second step, what happens is it breaks that big goal into small steps such that it is easy for the agent to execute it. Third comes the act, where it actually goes and calls the tools. It will make an API call to these travel websites like Google Flights, Make My Trip, and that is how it'll go on. Then the next step comes is check. It will actually check and confirm. It will go to email. It will check like whether the tickets are actually confirmed or not, and then accordingly he will go and see if there are any sort of updates, like is the flight on time or not, and then the whole process repeats. So this is how the agent loop goes.
Yeah, so you're 100% right on the update. Usually what happens, we've also seen, and I do it quite often, I ask my travel agent to book a flight, and once the flight is booked, I have some last minute update to my plan. Like for example, I want to reschedule my flight to some other day, and I call my agent and ask him to readjust my plan. And what the agent does, it doesn't scold me back, or he doesn't say that, oh, you can't do. What he does is he humbly takes that as an adjustment to the plan. He goes and performs them. So that's called update. Now, just like how human agent would do, an AI agent also can adjust your plan in the midway, sometime after the task has been executed. The goal of an agent is it will try to make sure it achieves your expectation, and it makes sure that you get your goals done. And Nikki, we've been getting a lot of questions from our viewers as how these agents and LLMs affect their job. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, that's true actually. If you think about it, a lot of mundane tasks will be actually taken over by agents. That's the common example that we see. Coding has become a commodity.
You're 100% right, Nikki. And I just want to add a couple of points that will help the viewers better equipped with the upcoming reality. We have long known that one of the most aspiring jobs is to be an engineer. Being an engineer is people's dream because
especially in India.
Yeah, especially in India. The first thing is that there are different kind of engineers. So some used to architect the whole system. Right. Some used to just do coding, which means they're writing instructions on which the system will execute. Now, after the agent came, now coding become a commodity, which means now people can easily use agent and create apps, softwares which is pretty common now. But if you ask me, like, will it affect engineers? Yes, the people who are just coding or just writing some languages. But the people who knows how to optimize the processes, who knows how to implement scalable solutions, they will be in much more demand. That's the future.
Right.
So how will they do that? They will collaborate with AI to make the scalability a possibility, to make security robust a lot more. Now, why I'm giving this example is if you start looking from a designer's per se, right? We have seen like people say, I'm a UX designer, an interactions designer, say I'm a visual designer, and then we also see like UX researchers. So people were good at certain stuffs. Now what happens in most of these things will be severely affected by agents. So let's take an example of UX design. And if you want to know more about it, you can just go and look at our past videos. But just to quickly sum it up. So in UX design, most people do is UI design, where they create screens, which are basically component used from design system. We also do a lot of documentation. For interaction designer, they do a lot of prototyping. For visual designers, they start creating different kinds of graphics, layouts. For UX researcher, they create, again, research documents around market research, around user research. So if I tell a very good prompt where I describe what I want and tell them that, hey, just go and use these components from the design system in creating this layout, it's just a 1-minute job for an agent to execute. So which means in a day, you can execute maybe hundreds of them, which will take for one person maybe a month. Same thing with interactions. You don't do prototyping anymore in Figma. That's a lost cause. You go use any vibe coding tool. You can use anti-gravity, you can use cursor, you can use lovable, and just create the prototype. You can start defining what kind of interactions do you want, how you want the emotions to be evoked in the user when there is an interaction out there. For a UX researcher, you know what exactly you want, right? What kind of information will help you to make better decisions, help to an agent, and it will start searching the net and get the best answers for you, which you might also do, but it'll take you like a lot of time. So now if you ask me, if you see a majority of things are easy for an agent to perform, faster, better, and at much smaller fraction of cost. So the reason we have started this channel is to help every person to be better equipped with the future ways of working. Softwares will not go away, there'll be more things, but what designers will be doing is helping companies create this product faster. And the next thing, what they will start thinking about what this future experience of products will be, which includes everything. And I think as a designer, you can achieve all of them. That you can do research if you know what to do. You can design the experience of an AI native product if you know exactly how agents works, what are the capabilities of an agent, and how do you think the new apps interactions would be. So you can just do it in a shorter amount of time with less people. But you need to be really careful that you should plan and invest more time in deciding what to build, how to build, and just delegate most of these mundane tasks to agents. Like you want to do a research, I think you should know what you want and just give it to an agent. You want to create an app, define everything, how the interactions of this new product should be, and just give it to these tools. They will do it for you. Even you give it to a Claude Code in Terminal, it will just create this app for you, and we'll show you more. We'll be taking problems and we'll be looking at the problems from a new way, and we'll be showing you how we do that in upcoming videos, so keep tuning for that.
Yeah, I think also it's very important for them to know that we both are also UX designers and we are also in the same boat that these people are.
You're 100% right.
Conventionally, what used to happen that a designer, when he is given with some problem, he does basic research, opens up Figma, and he starts creating, and then he delivers UI. But now this whole thing will actually be gone. In the AI world, a UX designer will actually focus on identifying the right problem, and it will think about a solution where AI would be the foundation of that solution.
I think our work will be around crafting the problem in the right way, and the solutioning has to be really different. It can't be clicks anymore. Again, a lot of signals can be processed by agent, then how the experience should be. What if we integrate with different channels? Can it run in the background? Can it only tell me when there is an issue out there? We have to think on those kind of terms, and that's how the vision and strategy of product would be. And mark my word, every solutions currently exist will be revisited with this AI lens. One of the examples of this is you can look at Linear. So this Linear is basically re-looking at work management. Like we used to have Jira. What Jira is a very complex software, but it was useful in managing works in companies. But Linear has changed it to a new level. They've made it more agentic, which means now every big companies, AI companies, are actually using Linear than Jira. And Linear is growing at a rapid scale, and people love it. For Jira, it's so tough because they have to refactor a lot of things and then think about how the agent. For Linear, their starting approach was always agent first. And in future, every new company created will be always creating from an agent first infrastructure. And that's a huge opportunity for designers to be part of this revolution, because you can define how it should be, and creating into a reality is just a piece of cake.
From this diagram, we can see that this is a visual representation of how an agent works.
Right, so if you can see here, the brain of an agent is nothing but an LLM. What's an LLM? You can go back to our videos and see. You can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Llama, and any model basically. What we do is we equip the LLM with tools, define the memory policies. On top of it, we also define the knowledge. And now there's this buzzing word, which is called skills, which makes the agent consistent with the output. And once you give this, LLM becomes an agent which can take action on behalf of you. And then it will look back the environment, receive it, and it will adjust itself, and it will continue going in a loop unless it completes the desired output. So if you see here, it keeps on planning itself. So now let's go one by one what it means, and so that people can understand and use it in their work. So in skills, if you give it skills, so agent can behave better when you define how they should work. So a skill is nothing but a reusable way the agent performs a task. So for example, of an skills that design engineers can define a summarized feedback. So in the skills, you can define like, hey, you gotta extract this theme, then you can define this proposed action. So it's like a workflow that you define out there. So what LLM will do is it will not bloat your context, it will reduce your token usage. You can have multiple skills in yourself, and you can have multiple skills in your directory. Now, if your instructions require certain skills to call, the LLM will go and look, and if there is a relevant skill, it will go and look and use that skill. So skills are not just an instruction of how to perform the workflow. You can also give some scripts, you can give examples, which essentially will help the agent to perform better. So the other examples could be like write Jira tickets. So you can define the acceptance criteria, you can include the edge cases. You can also say like, hey, I want to create a skills to generate UI copy. So you can define the matching brand tone and write a clarity check. And what agent will do is, if it feels that the skill is required, you can directly call, or you can also let the agent decide if that skill makes sense to you on behalf of you. Now there's this pretty good website which is called skills.sh. It's by Vercel. So here you can get tons and tons of skills that would help you. You can get skills for creating better front ends. You can get skills to create skills. If you want to create certain skills and you don't know how to create, use that skill to create your skills. You can also, if you have some video editing kind of need, and if you want that skills, you can use those skills, like you can use Remotion. So there are a lot of skills you can go and find in this website. And then you can also explore GitHub. You'll see that a lot of people are actually creating skills, and I think that's the future. Designers will be creating more and more skills, and each skills will help the LLM tune to their context, business, and will give a better results. So this is what the skill is. Now, what's a knowledge? So a knowledge are the trusted sources. If our agent is working on product decisions, then it needs grounded knowledge. So a typical example of knowledge could be your design system documents. It could be your API docs. You know what kind of APIs you use. So you have like Swagger docs. You can define the semantic meaning of each of the APIs. You can define the analogy of that, which agent can refer and can decide in the runtime which API you gotta call. And then you can also add research repository. You can define compliance rules, decisions. So all this becomes your grounded facts, which the agent will use. So there's a difference between sounds right and is right. Sounds right could give you a like hallucinated information, and is right if you want to make sure it is right and give this knowledge, so the agent can always use that as a grounded knowledge. A design engineer needs to learn how to feed the agent with the right knowledge at the right time, and that will be the key thing which they'll be doing. Now coming to tools, the agent can only act through what you give them. So agent don't magically do things. They do things through tools, and these tools could be APIs. We have talked about it. So if they want to book a ticket for you, so you got to give them APIs. For example, you can give them APIs of Google Flight or Booking.com, whichever you want, and it will just go to that particular source and it will do on behalf of you. So if you want an agent to write a Jira ticket for you, then you have to give them Jira APIs, because without this, how would you do? Think about it, like there's a plumber and you want you want to repair a faucet. You have to give them the relevant tools and equipments like hammer on which it will do. So same thing, it can go and book flights because it knows how to do that. But to do that, you have to equip them with APIs. If you look here, what we will be designing as a design engineer will be tool inputs, what the agent needs, then tool output, what the agent gets packed in, define the boundaries of this tool. you can say like, don't use this tool for this kind of scenarios. It's also advisable and it's imperative for design engineers to also define what's not possible, because oftentimes we define what is the possibility, but unless you define what's not possible, the agent can still cross the boundary and basically consume your tokens, and you might not get a right result, right? Then you can define the confirmation steps. So this could be, this is what the design engineer would do. For example, if you want to send a message to user, so let's say you want to create a tool where you want to send a message to the user, a bad tool design would be like, if you just say like send message and like you just give them a text, what would the agent do out of it? So to sum it up, when you're creating tools or using tools, if the tool is fake, then the agent becomes risky. And if it is well designed, then your agent will be reliable. So that's how you should take it up. Now, what's a memory? So the memory or the experience. The agent can store information from your past interaction. So you might have defined certain preferences in your past interactions, like you always like to sit in the window seat, anything. Again, memory can be two aspects. One aspect would be like short-term memory, which is it just remembers the current task steps. The other could be like long-term, where it remembers your preferences and past failures over previous chats. So it scores through your past checks overall and learns that these are the failures and the preferences of the user, so it doesn't have to repeat it again and again. So without memory, the agent, so let's say you don't have a memory design, so then agent will reset every time. And memory is how the agent stays consistent. So just this is the core concept why we want to have a memory. A simple breakdown you can say, in the short-term memory, it's like what's happening in the task right now. So in long-term memory, you can store around preferences, decisions, the recurring patterns. So without memory, the agent acts like an intern. That could be like knowledge for why you need memory. This is what makes agent. So you will use your tool like the APIs, the agent interacts with the world. It can execute code, it can send email, it can create designs for you, and everything that you want the agent to do. And now the last point, if you start looking here, is your planning. In planning, so this is where it breaks down, as Nikki was saying it before, a big goal. So for example, optimize route as I own delivery service. Let's say this is the prompt you give. And what the agent will, it will break down into step-by-step to-do list. It doesn't just guess, it reasons. The key point here is that it reasons, right? This is why the planning mode is so important. So anything you do, just plan before you ask the agent to do that. The more clear is your plan, the more detailed is your plan, you can better expect from the agent to get it done. The last concept is perception. The agent gathers and interprets data from his environment. This could be reading like Slack messages, seeing a change in database, or even seeing through camera. So this is how it perceives. These are the signals that you have to get. So without agent, so if you just give a prompt to an LLM, it will just respond in one shot. But in an agentic AI, if you give a goal, you're not just giving a simple thing, you're also giving a goal, then it will perceive the state, then it will plan, then it'll take an action, and it observes the environment, and then it reflects and repeats until the goal is achieved, right? This is how the whole agent framework works.
I hope viewers understand how an agent works, what are the different aspects that they have to look into, and they can actually start designing agents in their daily lives.